Masculine pose. Okay. So when I was growing up in an African community, I grew up with different family dynamics around me. And one of those chief dynamics was church. There was school, there was church, there was neighbors, and then there's people that we call aunts and uncles. Okay? That was the dynamic. So in that African setup, each group had the power to discipline you. They were a source of knowledge, wisdom, guidance. The school could whoop you if you were late to go to school, or if your socks was dirty, or if your haircut was not neat. They could whoop you. They had every right. At church, Uncle so and so could just come and say, "Why are you behaving that way?" Could reprimand you, you know. And you're at home, of course, and then neighbors and so forth. So if you did something bad, neighbors will be telling on you. So that was a source of the guidance. So as a young man, you knew there was a fear element to, and you knew that there's consequences to behavior. You could just behave anyhow. There was a village, there was a tribe. You feel me? So in that sense, people were, apart from the governmental element of governance that happens, people being under the leadership of a government, there was that just self-regulating because of consequences of behavior. Guidance. The guidance looked different. The disciplinarian, the disciplinarian element was, it took different forms. It's your teacher, it's your pastor, it's your mother. What's occurred now that's making people very ugly, and I believe in the scriptures because my worldview is the scriptures, as y'all know, is that it says in the end times, people be lovers of themselves. They're gonna love themselves more than y'all. They're gonna love pleasure more than good things. I'm paraphrasing. You know, they're gonna hate that which is good and they're gonna love that which is bad. So when we were growing up, yes, of course, we still had all these, what do we have? We still had Touch It by Monifa, if y'all know that song. You know, we still had those songs. You still had, Boys to Men. You still had As Yet. Um, you still had rap, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and all that stuff. But there was a governance that occurred that made you behave a certain way. That's why even the dating process, there's a certain loyalty that occurred because you're gonna look bad if you dog somebody out. And ladies were better in that sense because there was consequences to behavior, because there was different pockets of discipline, of governance, guidance. So fast forward to now, 2026. What's happened is that it's the machine has been so fast tracked that ladies are plugged into this whole, the people desiring modernity, including in African settings, have allowed the children to be more plugged into the phone system. That platforms such as TikTok, very underrated by the way. People do not know that has allowed to have the guide, the leadership, the voice of reason to be people that are not good people, be the guide of the men and the women. Because social media rewards bad behavior. So if you got a baby smoking cigarettes, I remember there was a viral video sometimes because everything is about virality, right? So if you got a baby smoking cigarettes and talking anyhow, that's gonna go viral. It's gonna get a lot of shares. If somebody's like, if a young girl talks about modesty and how she dressed nice, that's not gonna do too well. If you have a lady who got big old booty, she's twerking up, next to a baby's head, that's gonna go viral. People will say it's bad, but it still get the eyeballs on it. So what I'm trying to say in this video is that the source of the discipline that we had, the framework that we had back then, as in a community sense, is being destroyed through social media, the internet, because more and more people are plugged into the system. the TikToks, the Instagram. Everybody can participate, and the sad part also, yes, it's a good thing. People can make money off it. So degenerate behavior gets rewarded. Unfortunately, women, ladies, young girls can make money on there just by doing like just degenerate things. Men will give money, nasty, dirty men will give money to these girls, DM them and things like that. But the point is the parental element or the guardian element has been moved from the tribe, the pastor, the community, the mother, the family to social media. That's why if a woman say, I just want to get on here and just say, I feel like my husband doing wrong, there's a whole bunch of women that are going to tell them, oh yeah, you go ahead. The way I see it is you're going to see a whole lot of bad support. And women, they love to move in groups. So if they see that the general viewpoint is leave him, they're going to participate in that. And the voice of reason does not exist anymore. And because the voice of reason does not exist anymore, it means that people gravitate towards bad behavior. So the likelihood, I'm not saying this is not the case for men, but research does show that women are more imprinted by social media. They're more influenced because they're trying to emulate. They try to copy. They are more trend oriented. So now what occurs now? She's no longer listening to her pastor, school, community. She's now on TikTok. And add insult to injury now, you got ChatGPT. So you got a group of women that they go viral by giving bad advice. Okay, they go viral by giving bad advice. Now, if you're a bully and you punch a kid in the head and you go viral for it, you're gonna try to find ways to beat more people up. Okay, if you're a bully, you walking from school, you find a young kid eating ice cream, and for some reason, because of your rage, you punch him in the head, and instead of getting reprimanded, rebuked, or punished for that, you get likes and views. You're gonna be like, man, I need to do more of that. So what's happened in terms of the female is they're getting rewarded for taking advice from bad people. The regret is going to be, of course, it's always going to come because when they reflect over time, because those people, it's just like an online community or the sisterhood, if you will. Yes, the same thing does occur for men, but it's not as men are not trend oriented like women are. Women have had the 4B movement. They've had the whole if Trump wins, we're not going to do this and that. They've had, I choose the bear. They've had, calling out this whole male loneliness epidemic, which don't exist because men, for the most part, are alone. Um, but because women are tapping into the source of guidance from the wrong source, and they in turn getting older and having more children, it means that for the likelihood to meet a person that's balanced, that's getting good source of knowledge and wisdom, is very minuscule. Now, of course, that means because of this whole whoredom and date them all says date them all, men have had a lot more access than they would without commitment. So there's a lot of loose men too, but it's just that the numbers of men that get access are few. That's so you see that the majority of men are single, while the majority of women are not. And women don't wish to correct this. They will only try to correct it once they're losing. What I mean is once, oh, you're stuck on the side of the road and no man helping you. Because men, I've seen that. Hey, I was in the club, was trying to talk to you, you never liked me. I was in school, I tried to holler at you, but you never responded. And now you want my help. Get the guy who was cracking, who gave you those two babies, to help you. So when women see that there's this change of men not approaching, then they'll change. But after this point, it's not bad enough. So the point is, I'm saying is that the source of wisdom, guidance, like the one I grew up with in Africa, both for men and women, is not as pronounced. It's a little bit better for men because men tend to be like, oh, make sure you get a good job, make sure you got a side hustle, make sure you make your money, make sure you work out, make sure you eat clean. So that advice cannot go wrong. There's a few extremes there, but I don't know many men that follow that. But women are getting, make sure you get the bag, date them all the things that disqualify you for a good relationship. So society is in disarray because nobody's getting the source, the information from the good source. TikTok, Instagram, social media, whatever, is feeding people delusionment. And it's only after they age out, after they see that things are not working out, that's when they won't come to terms with the reality and say, hey, I did wrong. That's where you start to hear things like, I love you, black man, when it's really a little too late because, and it's very superficial. But I just want to talk about this point because I'm saying that ladies do not mind wasting their value, that they don't mind not giving the man what they need. And then they'll turn around and say, you know what? What do you need? I'm a cook. I'm a clean. But men, when they were asking for those things, oh, what? This is not 1950s. So it's only after the fact that they've gone out there, done the most, that now they desire to do the things that they know a man needs. But in the initial stages, they don't want to do those things. So it's just crazy to me to think that most ladies don't. They know, what man doesn't want a nice home cooked meal. Like I don't cook, I don't clean. Okay, they didn't learn that. They didn't have the guidance. But then all of a sudden, you like tried wives. You like, okay, because it benefits them to try and do that. So that's a lure. Anyway, I've said enough. Peace, love, and blessings.